discuss homogeneous catalysis as we were discussing before. Well, one of the exciting development in this domain is this recent 2010 Nobel Prize given to Professor Heck, Professor Nigisi, and Professor Suzuki. They shared this Nobel Prize in 2010 due to their extensive work on palladium catalyzed cross-coupling reaction in organic synthesis. This is a very well-known fact. Some part of the class will see their contribution, why these transformations or why their contributions are important in industry as well as in modern scientific era. As we were briefly discussing, homogeneous catalysis in the context of organometallic chemistry often will have a metal, right? The metal will be associated with carbon directly. Let's say you are thinking about methane, CH4, simple molecule. Now, if one of the carbon-hydrogen bond is displaced and forming metal carbon bond, that you can consider as organometallic compound. Now, this metal can be attached with an sp3 carbon, as you can see here in the first example. This is metal alkyl species, a sp3 hybridized carbon center or alkyl group is attached with metal. It could be also metal attached with a carbon center which is unsaturated, such as this alkynyl component. This is an sp2 hybridized carbon center. As you can imagine, you can have the metal bound with sp or this alkyne carbon center as well. Let's say acetylene. One of the carbon-hydrogen bond of acetylene is displaced by metal. This is metal alkynyl complex. In case of metal alkynyl complex, let's say you think of ethylene as a molecule, organic molecule. One of the carbon-hydrogen bond of ethylene is displaced and it is now a metal carbon bond. Now, these are the three major variety of metal carbon bond you can think of: alkyl, alkynyl, and alkynyl. sp3 carbon, sp2 carbon, and sp carbon. Other than that, these are all single metal carbon bond forming, but you can have metal carbon double bond such as carbene, okay, or alkylidene. You may have heard of Fischer carbene and Schrock carbene. Okay, so these sort of compounds are quite relevant. Of course, Schrock, Fischer, and then both of them also got Nobel Prize. So these are the transformations, or these are the type of metal complexes which are associated with excellent industrial reactions which are having practical applications. So these carbene, metal carbene species you can look at. Also metal and carbon, between them you can have a triple bond, as you can see over here, and these are called carbene, metal carbene species. So you have alkyl, alkynyl, alkynyl, carbene, and carbene. Now all these different types of organometallic complexes are participating in homogeneous catalysis. We will be discussing this little bit more often in the subsequent classes. As I was briefly discussing yesterday, this catalyst, rhodium or palladium or different other iridium, copper catalysts, these are commonly used in industry where an organometallic chemistry is used and homogeneous catalysis is at the heart of the industrial transformation. Wilkinson catalyst that you have seen in the last class, which if you remember has 16 electron, right? So 3 phosphine giving 2 electron each, 6 electron, chloride 2 electrons, and then rhodium is 1 plus, that is overall 8 electron. So the system has 4 ligand, 4 times to 8, and rhodium is 8 electron, total 16 electron. In any way, as mentioned, Wilkinson catalyst is excellent in olefin hydrogenation, isomerization, even decarbonylation reaction, many different reactions it is participating, and we will be discussing these reactions slowly and steadily. Another important, very important simple molecule is, let's say, something like palladium tetrakis. This is referred as palladium tetrakis triphenyl phosphine. This is palladium and 4 phosphine ligand, triphenyl phosphine ligand associated with it. Now, this is very good in terms of many cross-coupling reaction as well as Heck type of reaction. Not only these palladium complexes, you have other palladium complexes such as palladium chloride in combination with copper chloride for Walker catalysis. And also carbenoid insertion chemistry is by this rhodium acetate, okay, which is usually a dimeric species. Now these complexes, as you see over here, these I would say, these are very good complexes, but more often these are the starting material to form these sort of organometallic complexes that we have briefly discussed here, and these are metal alkyl, alkynyl, alkynyl, carbene and carbine. These different complexes may be forming in different situations with these metal centers. So one other thing you must be wondering, what is the difference between a coordination compound and an organometallic compound, or the two different domain of it? As you may know, transition metal complexes are required on both coordination chemistry as well as organometallic chemistry. But organometallic chemistry, as you have seen in the last slide, usually should have metal carbon bond present. So as you see in this ruthenium complexes, there is a ruthenium carbon bond forming due for this alkyne insertion type of reaction. So this intermediate, for example, can be called as an organometallic intermediate. Why? Because during the reaction, a metal carbon bond is formed, which is very, very important for doing the overall catalysis. Now, if you look at the coordination compound, you do not have at any point of the catalysis or any of the steps. As you know, catalysis will have many steps or many intermediate. If even in one of those intermediate, any metal carbon bond is there, then that chemistry or the whole chemistry you can assign under the banner of organometallic chemistry. But if there is no metal carbon bond is involved or formed during the complete catalysis, you cannot talk that as organometallic chemistry. You can call it as coordination compound. For example, these sort of epoxidation reaction, or there are different type of reactions where you see some ligand is there with metal and some chemistry is happening. At any point you don't see that metal carbon bond formation is happening. Therefore, those reactions are excellent reaction but not organometallic reaction. You can call them as coordination chemistry. Of course, the decision of telling whether it is an organometallic chemistry or not, that is not necessarily always based on this metal carbon bond formation. Let's say SiR4, that can also be considered as organometallic compound because between the carbon and another metal there is some electropositive metal is involved. There are large definition of organometallic chemistry. Okay, we'll discuss maybe little later. Okay, so today so far what we discussed in the last slide, that homogeneous catalysis will often have the organometallic component, and these organometallic component essentially means that in the catalytic cycle or at some point of the catalysis you will have some of these metal carbon type of bond formation. It could be metal aliphatic sp3 carbon hydrogen bond. You know the aliphatic compound, right? Simple carbon hydrogen containing molecule containing carbon hydrogen bond. Aromatic compound, as you know, will have the benzene ring at least. So these are the alkyl complex or metal aliphatic complex. Metal is directly attached with sp3 carbon. Now these are alkynyl. It could be olefin or it could be even benzene ring. But the carbon center that is attached with metal is sp2 hybridized, and these are called metal alkynyl complex. As I have told that there are also precedents for metal alkyne MC bond formation with an sp carbon, where no more this carbon is already triply bonded, and carbine and so on. Okay, now moving on, we are next going to see what are the fundamental type of reaction that is happening in terms of organometallic chemistry. Now these reactions of course can be under homogeneous catalysis or heterogeneous catalysis. Irrespective of this fact, these reactions happen quite efficiently, both in homogeneous as well as heterogeneous catalysis. So organometallic chemistry as such can have both the component, homogeneous as well as heterogeneous. Reaction mechanism, which I'm sure you guys understand, all of us understands that, has no boundary. Whatever is feasible in homogeneous catalysis, it is perhaps also possible in heterogeneous catalysis. So the chemistry, the mechanistic part remains similar or perhaps exactly same in many cases. One of the great thing about the homogeneous catalysis is you can determine the reaction mechanism little bit more easily compared to the heterogeneous catalysis. And that is because the characterization technique sometimes does not allow us to confidently assign many things in heterogeneous catalysis. Let's say it could be what is the reaction mechanism in greater detail. That sort of study in homogeneous catalysis experimentally in particular is little bit easier compared to heterogeneous catalysis. Now, let us look at this simple transformation called oxidative addition. What is happening here? You have a simple coordination compound. This is not an organometallic complex yet. You have ligand that we discussed in the last class. What are the ligands? You could have monodentate ligand, bidentate ligand, or tridentate ligand. All these different type of ligand can support a metal center. What is monodentate ligand? As we discussed, it could be halide, fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, or pyridine, or any other heteroatom containing molecule. For example, water has heteroatom oxygen, okay, and it has lone pair, oxygen has lone pair, oxygen lone pair. Through that oxygen lone pair, it can bind with the metal. So water can act as ligand. So this ligand, sometime it could be 5 of the water, 6 of the water molecule, or 1 water molecule is associated, or sometimes there is no water molecule associated with metal. Now, usually what happens, if you have this sort of metal complex, meaning these are usually metal in a lower oxidation state, it could be 0 or it could be 1, or depends, it could be also +2, but usually it's the lower oxidation state of the metal. For example, for palladium, it is palladium 0, that means neither oxidized nor reduced. Now it can go to palladium 2+, okay, oxidized form, or it can even sometime go to metal 4+ or palladium 4+, right? So we'll slowly come to that again. Ligand metal complex, as I said, often it is on a lower side of the oxidation state. Let's say palladium 0, often, not necessarily always, but most often than not, it is palladium 0 that is involved in catalysis. Now that palladium 0 will be incorporating on another molecule. Okay, so what is happening here? We have a palladium, let's say for example, palladium metal complex, which is not organometallic complex as of yet, and you have another molecule, okay, and this metal will be able to insert inside this another molecule. So here another molecule is XY. Within XY, this metal in this bond, it is able to insert itself. So you can think that XY makes the place for the metal centers. Okay, so XY is making the place for the metal center. Now, one other thing you have to note, that the oxidation state of the metal is increasing by 2 units. What is that? So if you are starting with palladium 0 during oxidative addition, when it is getting incorporated inside XY, see here, the oxidation state of the metal will be increasing by 2 units. If it started with palladium 0, it will be palladium 2+ upon insertion. Is it clear? I repeat, this metal itself, let's say, is palladium. It could be other metal, rhodium, iridium, you name it, organotransition metal, usually it could be. But for example, palladium, rhodium, iridium, these are much well used and very, very relevant in industry. That's why we are trying to discuss this. Now, this, let's say this is a palladium 0, palladium in 0 oxidation state, right? Of course, it needs support, some sort of ligand support. and this is where ligand comes into picture. Ln means n number of ligand are there. Now it has of course the choice of not reacting with anything. That's possible. A metal complex may not want to react with anything. But often if you have a reactive metal center and enough good ligands are sitting, that means electron rich metal center and a reactive metal center, organotransition metal chemistry, such as these, let's say palladium, rhodium, iridium, even iron, cobalt, nickel, depends on what you are doing, what is the oxidation state. You can make them reactive. They are very, very reactive often. The ones you see often, they are very, very reactive. Now these ligand metal complexes can then insert into the XY bond. So if it was a palladium 0, upon oxidation it becomes palladium 2 plus. Let's say in this example palladium and you have 2 triphenyl phosphine species. Because it is there and it is electron rich, you will see it is not of course coordinatively saturated. It will now insert into this carbon bromide bond, making it palladium inserted into this carbon bromine bond to give you this intermediate. So if you have started this as palladium 0, you will end up being palladium 2 plus. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So what all I am saying is, if you start with, let's say nickel 0, it would be after oxidative addition, it would be nickel 2 plus. If you start with nickel 1 plus, you will end up getting nickel 3 plus. Whatever is the oxidation, whatever is the oxidation state of the metal is, you will end up getting plus 2 oxidation state. Okay. So palladium 0 will reach to palladium 2 plus. Palladium 2 plus, if it is undergoing oxidative addition, it will end up being palladium 4 plus. If it is rhodium 1 plus, then after oxidative addition, it will get to rhodium 3 plus. Rhodium 1 goes to rhodium 3, palladium 0 goes to palladium 2. Iridium, the same way, whatever oxidation state you are starting with, it goes by plus 2. In the process, what is happening surely is you are interacting or you are making two reagents interact with each other, and one of them is breaking and getting into the bond of X and Y. So it is inserting between the X and Y. As you can see, the whole ligand metal complex is inserting into it. Of course, the total electronic count as well as the oxidation state you need to consider, and as you can see, oxidation state increased by 2 units. Here is a practical example where two of the triphenyl phosphine ligands containing palladium is inserting between the carbon and bromine bond to give you this palladium 2 plus intermediate. Okay. Now there is something called almost microscopic reversibility, the opposite of oxidative addition. It is called reductive elimination. In the last slide, you were seeing that metal is inserting into the XY bond. In the next one, you see metal is coming out of this position to give you the two starting component. You can say it's a reversible thing, microscopic reversible thing. So if it was palladium 2 plus to start with on the left hand side, you will go to palladium 0 on the right hand side. If it was, let's say, rhodium 3 plus, you will get rhodium 1 plus, and then XY bond formation. So almost all the organotransition metal species, with of course the electron available for them, can go for these sort of transformation. These are very, very fundamental and simple transformation happening all the time in industrial homogeneous catalysis. For instance, if you are looking at this complex on the right, if you reverse the arrow, that means you will get aryl bromide or benzene bromide, bromobenzene, and the palladium phosphine complex. So it's just the opposite of what you see in this slide. That is what is depicted in here. What you get is this bond formation between one group and the other group on the metal center. This carbon and this carbon form a bond and then get this reductively eliminated product. So previously they were inserting, breaking the bond, as you remember. See, they are breaking this carbon-bromine bond. Carbon and bromine, there is a bond. This bond is being broken by this electron-rich palladium complex to give you palladium 2 plus. Okay, it was a palladium 0 oxidation state. There was no counter cation or anion. Phosphine is neutral ligand. So you end up getting palladium 2 plus bis phosphine aryl bromide oxidative addition complex. Now the reverse of it, if you start from here, then probably you can reach to this starting material. One thing is though, for the reverse reaction, this group, the two departing group, that means X and Y, two departing group, X is over here, let's say benzene ring, Y over here is alkyne, right? The two departing group should be cis with respect to each other. Then that means they should be close with respect to each other. If they are not, if they are opposite, okay, then they are not going to reductively eliminate. Let me tell you once again, usually during oxidative addition, not always, usually you get a trans complex. As you can see, bromide and this benzene ring are opposite to each other. You see, carbon and bromine were together. When the metal, which is over here, inserts in between this carbon bromine bond, you get, of course, palladium big complex with 2 trisphenyl phosphine and then a aryl group and then bromide. Now the bromide and the benzene is trans with respect to each other. But for, although the reductive elimination is just opposite, forming bond between these trans halide as well as this carbon is very, very high energy demanding. It's not going to happen. That much energy we do not get. And that is why, or what it's turned out to be, that it's not going to wait for too much energy, but it will figure out a way to rearrange. So previously it was trans to each other, let's say, now they become cis to each other. Trans means for this alkyne, this TMS alkyne, trans molecule is triphenyl phosphine here. And for this benzene ring, the trans is also the opposite of it is triphenyl phosphine. Now this benzene ring and this alkyne are cis to each other. How it is possible? For example, over here, one phosphine can come out and then get back in. That way, there is a possibility of having them in cis orientation. Are we getting a little clearer? So the addition, yes, Mamta or Krishnam?
I have a question.
Sure.
For the reductive elimination, you are saying like triple bond and alkyne and the phenyl are in the cis position.
Yeah, they are close to each other.
Yeah, they are close, but it's one is above the plane and one is.
No, this is like a.
It doesn't matter in that.
No, it's a square planar type of complex. Palladium is D8
Okay.
electron.
Yeah.
Palladium 2
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
D8. It's a square planar complex. So they are essentially. Let me get. So it's, if you can see the pen, they are like this. Okay, so they are like this.
Okay.
Okay, not like trans to each other like that, right? I don't. Yeah.
I could not see you.
Oh, you cannot see me?
I could not see your. I could not see your pen.
Okay. Let me just hold on. Okay, let's say these are the 4 ligand. As you can see, 4 in here. Can you see the pen? 4 pen I have.
Now it's fine.
Now fine. Now I can have these 4 pen. Let's say I want the black and white to be reductively eliminated. Look at the black pen. Where is the black pen? Black and white. This is white, this is black, right?
Yeah.
This is black, this is or let's see the color. Okay. Let's say these 2 color. One is this blue color and black color. I want them to be reductively eliminating. Means they will be going together and forming bond. Okay. This black and this pen. Now, if they are trans with respect to each other, they are not going to form the bond. It is not possible. They cannot get out in this orientation. You see this orientation where this trans with respect to that one.
Your camera is actually, pens are just lower side. I could not see it.
Okay.
If you can manage some camera.
Okay, hold on.
Or you can.
Okay, can you see me now? Can you see the pen?
Yes.
Okay, let's say I want to form a bond between these 2 atoms. Okay, or these 2 center. Now, if my complex is something like this, I cannot easily form a bond between these 2, because these 2 substituent on the metal is at the center where I am holding. This one and that one, they are trans with respect to each other, right? They are opposite to each other.
Yeah.
If they are opposite to each other, then we cannot form a bond between these 2 easily. I want to take it out from the metal. So metal is my hand. Metal is holding them. Okay. Metal is holding them. If they are like this, then I cannot form a bond between them. On the other hand, if they are cis to each other, right? Like they are cis to each other. See, now they are cis to each other. Then I can easily go out and form a bond.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is what is required for the reductive elimination. The 2 departing element or partner has to be cis with respect to each other. If they are trans, that means over here, if they are trans, then you cannot form a bond between these 2. These 2, then you cannot form a bond that very easily, because then you will need a lot of energy. That energy, maybe you have to heat a lot. You have to put a lot of heat energy or some energy. Energy can be coming from different sources. Let's say sonication energy, photo energy, different energy you have to give. But the requirement for these sort of energy will be quite high. Okay. Is it understood?
Yes, now it's clear.
Okay. Yeah. Can you please mute the mic, both of you? Okay, thank you. So what I was trying to tell in the oxidative addition is, let's say you have a molecule like this. You have a molecule. So where two atoms are there. One atom is over here, another atom is over there. Now in these two atoms, if you want to insert a metal inside it, okay, so what will happen? It will open up and it will make a space for this metal. So metal was over here, right? Metal and ligand, it is making space in between this X and Y and forming a complex, right? Now usually in these cases you see that this carbon and bromine are trans with respect to each other. They are trans, means they are opposite to each other. It's not like always it has to be like that, but lot of oxidative addition happens like that. Now when we are talking about the reductive elimination, although it is just the opposite of oxidative addition, what we see, one of the primary requirement is the two groups which are going to get out has to be, if they are trans, as I was saying, this these two color pen, if they are trans with respect to each other, they are not going to go out. They have to come cis with respect to each other. Okay, they have to come cis with respect to each other. Then only the reductive elimination will take place. Now, if you go back into the oxidative addition, there are different types of oxidative addition. The mechanism, how oxidative addition is happening, it can be very interesting as well. One of the reaction is you just attack from the backside and you get in, right? That is usually called the SN2 type of mechanism, right? You have studied maybe in bachelor studies SN2 mechanism, where metal actually from the one side and get one partner out. So let's say like this, if you have this XY as a molecule, XY molecule, and this is the metal ligand complex, it goes from one side, it goes from, let's say, this side, one thing from here goes out, okay, and then it forms a bond between these, and this can then come back from the other side, right? So this SN2 type of reaction mechanism is one of the possibility. Substitution nucleophile bimolecular, where both the XY as well as ligand metal complex participate into like head-on collision. They together they form the bond. Metal goes nucleophilically attack, one of the bond comes out of the metal center of this XY, and then this sort of oxidative addition complex you can get. But that is SN2, it happens sometime. It can also happen the radical type of mechanism. That means one of the partner between X and Y, one of them comes out automatically. It forms a radical. And then those radical then start adding on the metal. Net result could be this oxidative addition. But overall, the details of the mechanism changes. A lot of cases what happens, it is the concerted mechanism. That means simultaneously, slowly it is happening. It's a kind of allowing the guest inside your house. You have, the guest can come and kick you out and then later on say, okay, you can also come in. That is, let's say, SN2 type of mechanism. So guests are coming. In this case, ligand metal complex is your guest. And these XY are, let's say, host. Now guest can come and kick out one of your family member and say that, okay, now that one of you is going out, I'm coming in. After that, you can get back and join. That's what you get in the SN2 mechanism. Another way of having guest in the house is one of the member of the house goes out of the house as radical, and then guest comes in, and then the radical, the member who has left, that member also comes back in. That's radical mechanism. Otherwise, another friendly thing can happen. All the members of X and Y, the house, goes there and welcomes the ligand metal. Together, they hold hands with each other. These are like four-centered mechanism, it's called. Let's say two partner is there in the house or home, and two partners are there in the ligand metal complex. Four of them, 2 plus 2, 4 of them holds hands of each other, and then they accommodate all four. So the metal accommodates all four centers. This is what I was saying, that this is what accommodation happens at the end. Okay, like four centers attaches together. In any case, in all the cases, four centers attaches like this. But the way this is happening, as I said once again, let's say you have two people in your house and another two guys are coming inside your house. They are the guest. Now the guest can be nice and polite, can share hands and very friendly. They come in and they form a complex. Very nice complex, simple complex they form, right? This is a very welcome thing, but often this could be like mutual understanding could be also highly energy demanding. It doesn't really happen. If you don't know these guests, you may not be able to accommodate them inside your house. Maybe you will protest, right? So this four-centered reaction mechanism is usually, I think, a high energy to give a lot of energy, where four members all agrees and comes to be part of the thing. Other way around, as I said, from the house, one of the member of the house goes out or kicked out by the guest, and then once guests are inside the house, then they accommodate the previous house member. That is SN2 mechanism. Or another thing could be one of the house member spontaneously leaves, that is like radical formation, and then the guests comes in. Of course, then also that member who spontaneously left before come back in and participates. So overall, it's a four member. Ligand is one member, metal is one member, X is one member, Y is another member. All of them put together, metal is at the center and other three membered ligand X and Y are participating. What is happening in these cases, as I told you earlier, metal's oxidation state is increasing. If metal started with, let's say, 0 oxidation state, let's say palladium 0, no electron goes out, come out, it's a simple palladium element. Of course, there is ligand associated with it. Those ligands can be usually phosphine ligand. These are neutral ligand, no charge is there. So palladium is still palladium 0. Now, if palladium 0 goes inside this carbon bromine bond, That's their house, carbon and bromine house. If they are inserting this carbon inside the carbon bromine bond, you see palladium 0, which was there at the beginning, it's no longer palladium 0, it becomes palladium 2 plus. Palladium 2 plus. That is because bromide is negatively charged, and this carbon unit, which is phenyl pH minus, so bromide is minus, phenyl is minus, and phosphine ligand phosphorus is 0, neutral. This phosphine ligand phosphorus is also neutral. So overall, this palladium is having 2 plus oxidation state. Okay, this is negatively charged, bromide is negatively charged. See, bromine Br atom, bromine Br2 is the elemental form. Now, when it is bromine, of course it is negatively charged, and then this is phenyl, of course it is also negatively charged. So this is pH minus, Br minus, phosphine 0, total it is palladium 2 plus. So palladium started with palladium 0, but now it is palladium in oxidized form, palladium 2 plus oxidation form. This is what we have written here. We have it here, where a certain metal oxidized state is going and to plus 2. If you are starting with minus 2, then it would be 0 oxidation state. If you are starting this metal with 1 plus, then it would be 3 plus metal. If it is 2 plus, then it is 4 plus. So plus 2, total plus 2 oxidation state change you see. In the reductive elimination stage, which is the product of this reaction, is the reagent for the opposite reaction. This is forward sense. Now we are looking for backward sense. In the backward reaction, we will see that this bond between X and Y is now reforming. In the previous case, the bond between X and Y was broken. In the new case, from this intermediate, you see the bond between X and Y is happening, and ligand metal is coming out. What is ligand? We have discussed previously. It could be one monodentate ligand, just like fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide. It could be bidentate ligand, like bipyridine. There are many two denticity ligand, like monodentate water is a monodentate ligand. But if you are looking for a diol, right, that's a bidentate ligand. Bipyridine, that's a bidentate ligand. Diamine is a bidentate ligand, like it holds twice, or from two center it holds. Now, in these cases, as you can see in the reductive elimination, we have oxidized metal. Now, for example, palladium, it would be palladium 2 plus. Now, this palladium 2 plus is going to palladium 0. If it is 2 plus, it is going to 0. If it is 3 plus, it is going to plus 1. And there is a bond for this X and Y. Okay, that X and Y is given in here. This is X, let's say, and this is Y. One thing that I was trying to tell, for the formation of bond between this carbon and that carbon, they have to be cis with respect to each other. So if you form a bond between these two, this is their trans. Okay, they cannot form a bond very easily. It's not like they cannot ever, but it is going to be high energy demanding. Okay, so if you want them to make a bond, then you have to isomerize. How you can get isomerization from trans to cis, as I show. This is trans orientation. This is, sorry, this is in trans orientation between these two pens. So you can take it out, one of them, any one of them, then it is planar, and then it can come back in from here. Then you see this and this guy are cis to each other. That's what exactly happened, isomerization. Did you see the isomerization? One more time. Let's say they are trans to each other, they cannot form a bond, one of them can come out, and this is planar molecule. Now it reorganizes and then it comes back in. So my hand at the center is the metal. Now these two are cis to each other, they can come out and form a molecule. So this is what is happening here with respect to X and Y. X and Y forms a bond. In a real, this is a cartoon example. A real example is over here, where you see the carbon of this phenyl ring and carbon of this alkynyl moiety. They are cis with respect to each other, held by a metal. They can form a bond between these two carbon. Essentially, they form this molecule. So this carbon and that carbon joins, it forms this molecule, and then you left up with this palladium phosphine complex. Okay. Now, the requirement of the reductive elimination, as I said, usually you need to provide some sort of energy. Even if they are cis to each other, still you need to give some energy. This is where in lot of cases you see in industry or in any reaction, you need to give energy. You need to give the energy in the form of heat, sonication, or when one of the, or photochemistry, or some form or the other. Sorry. One form or the other, you have to give the energy, right? So even for reductively eliminating this carbon and that carbon, you need to give energy. Sometimes it takes time to happen. That's why the reaction takes longer time. All the molecules to get going for this reaction, it can be time consuming also, of course, energy demanding as well. Okay. Another thing, interesting thing about the oxidative addition, I was saying in terms of the mechanism. So this is the generic mechanism, like a simplified mechanism. But if you want to study more, there is quite exciting mechanism in here, as I was giving example in terms of the host and guest. If the guest wants to come inside the house, there are, let's say, at least 3 different ways of doing this. One is the 4-center mechanism, where the guest and host, or whatever way, host or guest, all simultaneously agrees and participate in this complexation. This is 4-centered reaction mechanism. But this is not necessarily always happening. All of the host and guest members may not be agreeing, but still this is actually very high energy. To make them agree that they will participate in a complexation process is also very high energy process. That's a 4-centered reaction mechanism. As you know, in synthetic chemistry, there is something called radical mechanism, where what happens, nothing, that one of the partner, let's say Y spontaneously comes out and forms a radical. It takes its electron from this bond, it forms the radical. X radical is left. Now that X radical attaches with metal, and then subsequently or later on, Y also come back spin. So you can essentially get the same molecule. That's the radical mechanism. And another way would be, let's say metal kick out one of them, let's say Y goes out, Metal comes, knock on X, Y goes out, and then Y comes back in and then forms a bond later on with metal. This is called so-called SN2 type of mechanism. Okay. Now, is it clear this simple thing? I hope somewhat clear. Do you have any question at this point? We can discuss a little more if you want in this case.
It's clear.
Do you have any question? Okay. Okay. If there is no question, then I will stop today's class here. Okay. And maybe I will just summarize this lesson a bit. Let's go on and see what we have discussed today. Of course, this is a very important field. We have discussed that between metal and carbon, there could be a bond formation, which is responsible for organometallic chemistry. Metal alkyl, metal alkenyl, sp3 carbon like alkyl, like aliphatic species, or an aromatic or olefin or alkene type of species can also form a bond with metal, or alkyne triple bond can also form a metal. And then there could be a multiple bond between metal carbon and multiple bond. It could be 2 bonds or 3 bonds. There are many metal complexes which may not be looking like organometallic to start with, but during reaction this sort of metal carbon bond is forming. Remember this oxidative addition? See, there is a bond between metal and carbon. This is why this sort of reaction is known as organometallic complex. Okay. Now going back, so there is a difference between organometallic complexes as well as coordination compound. At least in the organometallic complexes, at least one of the step will have metal carbon bond. Okay. Now we have discussed about oxidative addition, how a metal which is supported by ligand is getting involved into the other molecule, how they are talking, how they are discussing with each other. Because this metal complex or metal ligand or whatever the metal is, let's say copper chloride or palladium chloride or whatever metal you can think of, can they participate in interaction with an organic molecule? This is what one of the way of doing participating in the reaction, that is oxidative addition. In an organic molecule, let's say a metal complex is associated. Let's say palladium chloride, okay, or here is a palladium phosphine complex. Okay. Now, before coming to phosphine complex, this bis ligand, it was having 4 ligand, 4 phosphine, as you have seen previously in the first slide. There was 4 phosphine. So 2 of the phosphine has to come out first, and then that's how it is a bi or bis coordinated, bis phosphine coordinated palladium. It has already lost 2 of the ligand. Now it is going to insert into here into the carbon bromine bond. So 2 more ligand has come out. So if 4 phosphines were there, this reaction may not have been this effective. So the lower total electron, we were talking about the 18 electron species. So the lower electron count from 18 electron actually helps in the reactivity, so that they can become more more unsatisfied, and the number of ligands are less associated, so less sterically hindered, and they can insert into the reaction more easily. Okay, so we'll be discussing from here in the next class. Do you have any question? Okay, I'm just stop presenting. Both Mamta and Krishnam. And
No,
Mamta,
it's fine.
so if
It's
you have
nice
any question,
presentation.
may ask. Otherwise, we will meet later on. Okay. If there is no question, I
Okay.
am stopping here. Okay. All right then. So maybe we can meet tomorrow again, at least for an hour. Maybe we'll try to meet for 2 hours. Oh no, tomorrow is not really a great day for me. But still, let me see my calendar. Hello, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hello.
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 Listening to you.
Hello, Mamta.
Yes.
Listen.
I can hear you.
Hello.
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 Hello, Mamta. Hello.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
आपण डायल केलेला नंबर सध्या व्यस्त आहे कृपया नंतर प्रयत्न करा आपके द्वारा डायल किया गया नंबर
Hello. Hello. Hello.
I think we should also leave.
Yes, yes, we should. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.